All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, July 16th Town Council regular meeting in the Green Room. And can we please start with the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number two, are there any visitors who would like to speak? Go right ahead.
It just picks it up. You could just-
Generally near there is fine.
Generally near here? Okay. I'm Chris Horvath, resident 34 Emick Road. I just want to make a comment about the Beach Park Road Bridge project. I want to commend the town council, the town manager, our chief of police for providing us, the residents and visitors especially in that area, with good and valuable information. I think it's important if we can continue to keep up the updates, the information. I know you have a lot on your plate. Things kind of get lost, maybe pushed aside a little bit. But the more information you give to us about the project, the more trust gets built up and the anxiety gets decreased. And as we're all entering the middle of the summer and the hurricane season as well, we can't forget that, it is really important for us to have as much information as possible. So thank you, and just here to say please keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you.
And if the town manager and the chief of police want to do a video every month together, that would be great.
We try and get out as much information as they give us. It's been a little tough on our end too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other visitors? Kristen Waterbury sent us an email, a number of people an email, and she asked that that information be included in the minutes. I guess I should speak to you. So when Mary sends us the minutes, there'll also be an email from Kristen Waterbury. We don't necessarily have to read it out loud, but she wanted it included in the minutes. Okay. All right. Item number 3, approval of minutes. This is for July the 2nd. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, thank you. Item number 4, Michael Fanning is here, and he is looking to be appointed to the Shellfish Commission for a term until 6/30/2027. Michael, would you like to tell us about your interest? Just tell us why you're interested.
Well, I've been clamming since they've been open, and I know quite a few of the guys. I'm down there a lot, and they mentioned that, that Wayne was leaving. Mike was giving me some information. I didn't really know anything. Mike was getting in touch with me to be a vacancy. I'd like, 3 or 4 years ago, I went out seeding with him, with Wes, and I'm not sure who the other guy was. And I told them anytime they needed help, or I went out a couple months ago, they needed to get some clams for testing, and I went out there and got the clams for them and stuff. I enjoy it. I'm out there all year round, checking out slowly, but so I just want to be on the commission. And, I can help them out with whatever they got. And even when I'm down there, I just check. I don't check because I don't have the authority or whatever. But just I see people down there and stuff like that. Just to check, see if they got the license or not, and stuff like that. So.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Mike? No? All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, unanimous. Congratulations. And if you would go see the town clerk before the first meeting to be sworn in? Do you know where that is? All right. Okay, thank you very much for
I
stopping.
can have it done anytime, I just,
It has to be done before your
Before
first
your meeting.
okay, I just come to the town hall and,
Yep, between the hours of 9 and 4, the town clerk's office.
I gotta pay the taxes tomorrow, so I'll stop that one.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Item number 5, review of foreshore resiliency plan and request to update the title and charge of the Coastal Resiliency Task Force, and Abby is here.
Awesome. All right, what are signature?
It's all yours.
All right, so I won't take up a huge amount of your time, but there's two sort of asks the Coastal Resiliency Task Force has for the council. The first is to, at some point, consider endorsing the existing foreshore resiliency plan that we did in partnership with Westbrook, Old Saybrook, and Fenwick, to take a look at that as our baseline, officially, our baseline coastal resiliency plan. And this effort was undertaken with a substantial amount of public input, activities in all 4 communities. We had a lot of feedback from Clinton residents. We had about 60 people here when the consultant presented the final plan to the community. We're including a number of the recommendations from this plan in the plan of conservation and development. So we're trying to keep those adjacencies between the different planning documents we have. But I think it goes a long way for this group to say, yes, we believe that this is a good starting point. And we all know that it is a starting point. It provides some baseline information, some recommendations, data that's fairly consistent with the Connecticut models that most of the funding that may come out of the state would be based on. So part of this is funding eligibility into the future. And it gives us, a snapshot in time of what we sort of know our issues are, but it puts it in a consistent place where we can reference back, see how things change over time, and help give our residents and businesses a little bit of a better idea of where we may be going. There are ideas for projects in here. Those projects are not individually planned, funded, necessarily recommended, or prioritized in here. That is the work of a future committee with this group, the Planning and Zoning Commission, whatever happens to the task force going forward. So this is, like I said, this is meant to be a starting point. What I handed up tonight was just a quick overview. This is not the whole plan. The whole plan is online. You should have received a link for it, but it gives you just a little bit of a summary, the table of contents, how the plan is structured, where to go find information. So, I'm not going to belabor all of the various pieces of it, other than in the executive summary, it gives you a good idea of some baseline recommendations that sort of apply to all towns, and then later in the plan, it gives you Clinton-specific information. And so you could even skip forward, ahead to the chapters that specifically deal with Clinton if you don't want to read all the modeling, science behind the modeling and all that kind of stuff. And these aren't, the recommendations are not necessarily groundbreaking, but they do give us sort of a spectrum of steps that we can take along the way to help folks gain resilience in the face of coastal flooding. And they can be things that are simple as installing backflow preventers on some of our drainage outfalls so that coastal waters are not infiltrating through the drainage system and surcharging the pipes. But it can also be as significant as road elevations in certain low-lying areas, and all of the things that we know come along with that in terms of driveways and sort of how water flows onto private property, septic considerations, and all those kinds of things. Again, it's sort of it's meant to call this information out, but not necessarily tell us what to do. It gives recommendations on what to consider. So I don't know if folks have questions on the plan itself. I can go through in more detail various areas of town. It's not sort of surprising areas. It's causeway and shore and hammock, places, parts of Route 1, places that we know. The important part of this too is that it's only a coastal plan. It is not something that deals with extreme rainfall events, heat, energy issues, or other climate-related topics. It truly is a coastal inundation plan and looks to look out into the years 2050 and 2070 to see what our risks in the 100-year storm scenario might be. So making sure we understand sort of what its value is and what its limitations are, I think, are important too. The group tasked with sort of ushering this plan to fruition was the Coastal Resiliency Task Force, and was a group of dedicated people who spent a lot of time going through sort of page by page, making recommendations, attending events, and they'd like to continue their work. And their ask, that group asked me to come here and chat with you about a charge to change that group from the Coastal Resiliency Task Force to the Clinton Resiliency Committee. And their idea is to have a more broad focus and impact, looking at not just coastal issues, like I said, but other extreme weather events, including heat and increased precipitation, erosion, natural resource protection, energy and conservation elements, renewable energy things, those types of things. And much of what they want to do is provide information and sort of be a clearinghouse locally to help people synthesize all of the information that is out there from the region, from the state, on the national level, and say, here are some things you can do as a resident, as a business owner, and as a community to start building some additional resilience. That can look from any kind of things, helping folks be more prepared for loss at their businesses, to what to consider when thinking about purchasing a new water heater, and at what elevation might they be required to install it, and what should they be planning for as they're thinking about maintaining their homes. So it's all of those things together. Also looking at, when grant opportunities come out, making recommendations through Michelle, and sort of say, hey, we might want to consider the following things. We may have a benefit here. It lines up with our plan or our policies or whatever else. So those are the two pieces. I'm happy to answer any questions and just kind of get some feedback on what you think about, number one, the group continuing in sort of an expanded form, and if there's any questions or thoughts on the plan itself.
The task force was a member of planning and zoning, a member of the town council, a member of conservation, and a couple others, correct? Harbor
management, yeah. So it started out as sort of a representative group with some staff liaisons. As the plan sort of continued along, some folks found it difficult to sort of have multiple commitments. So being on especially sort of some of the boards like, planning and zoning and that kind of stuff, finding the time to do meetings for both commissions and all the things that it entailed was a little bit much. So I think this structure is essentially appointees of the council. So it's not necessarily tied to any individual commission, but their intent when we've been in discussion is to say, look, they would like to go to the various boards and commissions and come here with recurring reports, synthesizing what they're doing, making sure that if they're taking something on, that it's not overlapping or duplicating something another group is doing. So trying to be efficient in the way that they're doing things.
Do you have a sense of how many people from the task force would want to carry on their time in the commission?
Yeah, I think there's definitely two, probably potentially three. I think there's an opportunity to bring some new folks in too. And I think with the expanded charge, you might get a little bit more interest as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the name change and an updated mission statement. Is there a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
All right, and discussion?
Yes. It said that there was the terms are not outlined here, of like X number of people have a 2-year term, Y number of people have a 1-year term, et cetera, et cetera. That just needs to get added
included in, yeah. That's, yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, the next item, we're going to hear about the police traffic cameras that we've heard about before.
Do you want me to move this screen here somewhere
Where it's more visible, or?
The council has the handout, so you can actually leave it that way so the guests can see it.
Well, thank you for having us back, having me back. I brought on, this is Marty Plank. He is the Vice President of Ultimate, which would be our selected vendor for the traffic enforcement safety devices, should we decide to go ahead with those. I know there's a lot of slides in the deck, but I'm going to go through them very quickly just to go for an overview and open it up for any questions that anybody has as we move along. So obviously you know me, this is Marty. A little bit of an overview of Ultimate's technology. if you just want to touch on that real quick, how long you've been in business and how long.
Sure. Ultimate's been in business for over 20 years. We do automated traffic enforcement, including school zones, work zones, school bus stop arm, red light. So we do the whole thing. We're based in Atlanta, Maryland. So if you're a Commanders fan, we're only like 3 minutes from there.
Is that the Redskins?
It used to be the Redskins, yeah. And so we were first in Florida. We were first in Virginia to go live. We have a lot of programs, I think over 77 jurisdictions. We were recently awarded Fairfield, Milford, and then the Capital Region, Prague, sorry. We were awarded that also. So, but we've been in business for a long time, have a lot of law enforcement experience behind us.
So again, the reason why I'm here in front of you, and part of this came out in the discussion before, was that, it's often said to me, what do you need 27 cops for, in a small little town like us? Well, unfortunately, 27 people are not working all at the same time. My day shift is a 3-person minimum, our evening shift is a 4-person minimum, and our midnight shift is a 3-person minimum. So that's what we have working. We're also the designated first responders, so we're responding to every single medical call that comes in, and our resources are easily overwhelmed. So what we've been trying to do with the installation of the flock cameras and now pursuing this program is trying to leverage technology to give us better enforcement, to give us better public safety where we can, because I don't have the amount of manpower that it takes to do these things. And if you come, as Chairman Moynihan will tell you, anytime that we have anyone come to the police commission meetings, it's usually with a traffic complaint about speeding or not stopping at stop signs or wanting some type of signage. So we try to address that as we can, but we have to answer calls and we're quickly called away, so it's very rare that we get to set up and have the manpower to dedicate to traffic enforcement alone. So Connecticut Public Act 23-116 is what allows us now, as of 2024, it just came to effect in January of 2024, to allow municipalities to install these automated traffic enforcement safety devices. But the law is very clear and it's very restrictive. So it works on the principle of there's only 2 things that we could set them up for. One is speed related, and you cannot cite violations under 10 miles an hour, so they have to at least be going 10 miles an hour above the posted speed limit before you can actually issue a summons for that. And then red light has to be directly facing, going through a standing red light. So those are the only 2 things that are allowed under statute for this. We've already conducted several speed studies and several red light studies throughout the town. And oops, I'll tell you how the technology works. Sorry, I skipped one ahead. So basically, it's automated cameras, and they capture the plate, the vehicle, and the violation. Sometimes they're good enough that if it's like a larger vehicle, we can actually get a picture of the driver behind the wheel as well sometimes. It's high-resolution imagery, it's radar-based sensors, and before any summons is actually issued, they are verified by the vendor first and then by a review officer that we would designate. So someone on staff, more than likely for us, who would be the captain of administrative services, would go through to ensure that we're not sending out errant summonses and people aren't getting summonses that they shouldn't. Basically, here is what it will look like. A lot of it is paid. The majority of payment is already done through a portal, a secure portal. So most of the payment is done through a portal, and I'll get into the fines and the possible defenses against those items as we move along here. But just for a little bit of reference on the impact that we can have with this as a force multiplier for traffic safety improvement. The IIHS, which is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, conducted a study, and they saw a 14% reduction overall in crashes in areas with speed enforcement cameras and a 19% decrease in injuries on roadways with speed cameras. And speeding violations dropped by more than 50% within the first 1 to 3 months of the installation of those cameras. So, and then there's some examples that were used in the study, Montgomery County in Maryland and Portland, Oregon. The impact of red light cameras, I think, is just as important. A 21% reduction in fatal red light running crashes, and a 40 to 50% reduction in red light violations within 6 to 12 months of camera installation. And then also importantly is that the crash severity is often reduced. You're not seeing the T-bone accidents, which usually end up in fatalities where a collision is penetrating into the door of a side of a car. The accidents that are now occurring are rear-end accidents when someone stops and someone's falling too close and you have a rear-end collision. Cars are designed for frontal and rear crash zones, and it's much safer. They're not really designed to take the impact of that side. So, Washington, D.C. Saw a 60% drop in red light violations after camera deployment, and Chicago saw 47%. When we did our studies, which I'm going to show you in just a brief second here, Ultimate says that basically within the first several months, we should see a 90% reduction in violations where we have these cameras placed. So again, the idea of this type of automated enforcement is not a revenue generator. It is to get voluntary compliance to the existing traffic laws. So we're looking for a reduction in violations. So as obviously violations decrease, so does the revenue generated from this system. So again, it highlights the fact that it's not a revenue generator, it is public safety generated, and we're trying to get voluntary compliance to existing traffic laws to make our streets safer. So we conducted speed studies in 5 locations, and we conducted red light studies in 3 locations. So as we go through, the Morgan School is an area of concern for us, and as you can see on a weekly basis, our daily averages here, so weekly totals, you have 36,000 people through that section in front of Morgan School on Route 81. So that's 36,000 cars. Of that, basically 4,500 are going at least 10 miles an hour above the speed limit, and a daily average is almost 900 violations. So pretty heavy area of concern for us, especially because there's a lot of students that go back and forth there on bicycles, pedestrians. It's not the best setup for crosswalks if they're on the north side of the street. It's easier for us, but there's a lot of kids that are coming across. And again, a lot of young drivers that are starting to drive are going to school, and that causes us concern as well.
Is the speed limit different during session?
So it drops from 40 to 30. It's a half hour before school starts and a half hour after school is ended. So we would calculate for that. So we can make the adjustments for that. And that, again, is regulated by state statute. It only allows us to have the speed limit reduced for those times. Cow Hill Road was another one. 10,000 vehicles weekly, 2,700. So you can see where the numbers are. Basically, the national standard is you try to stay within an 85th percentile. That is 85% of the vehicles traveling on the roadway are at least under the speed limit, or following the speed limit, or at least 10 miles an hour below. These are all 10 miles an hour above, so it's pretty high. We do get a lot of complaints. We fortunately have not had a lot of accidents, so we could talk about that downstream too, because the state is very restrictive as to where we can place these, and they want to ensure that it's going to improve safety, because again, they don't want these things put up everywhere as revenue generators. They've been very strict about the placement, and we have to show the state DOT that we truly believe that the placement of the cameras where they are is going to improve traffic safety. Long Hill Road, again, you can see those numbers there. We're pretty good there. We're right about 85th percentile on all of that. And that's a much wider road, and it's much straighter, and it has much cleaner lines of sight than Cow Hill. Liberty Street, we're doing very well, which I'm sure will make one of my commissioners very happy because he lives there. So those numbers are pretty good. 90 Rod is my pride and joy now, because I was expecting this was going to be very high, and you can see that's a school zone. We're right there at Elliott, and those numbers are really, really good for us. So that would not be a candidate for one of these cameras, because we're doing very well. We're getting good compliance there on that roadway. Grove Street is another one. We do catch a lot of complaints and a lot of concerns because of the traffic going down to the marina areas. And as you can see, we're doing fairly well. We're doing pretty good there as far as staying within the 85th percentile. We're never going to remove all the violations. Our goal is to concentrate on areas that, number one, we see a lot of traffic collisions, and where we feel that placement of these devices is really going to have a positive impact. If we're not seeing a lot of accidents, the state is more than likely not going to sign off on a placement of them. Rosemead Hill, again, so this is up on the Killingworth line, and you can see basically the speed limit there is 45, and there's barely any violations, so we're getting good compliance up there. Obviously, it's a curvy road, it's 45. Most people are driving below 55 because that's what the road will handle, and that's what most people are going to do. Just to talk a little bit about some of the parameters that implementation would take. Here's the Public Act. It's not that bad. It's only about 19 pages long. And the accompanying implementation guide for the state is about another 25 pages long. And we've been working on the project before bringing it to you for about 9 months now, or 9 or 10 months, just to ensure. It's a very detailed process. Like I said, the state is very restrictive as to how it can be implemented, where it can be implemented, and they're very attuned to making sure that it's egalitarian and that you can't place it in your economically depressed areas, and they really want to make sure there's a lot of parameters that you wouldn't think would be in the installation of the devices, but again, they want quality. So we have to have 2 speed limit signs placed to every approach. Enforcement has to be 10 miles an hour above posted speed limit. The fines are set. $50 for the first violation, $75 for the second, and thereafter. And then there's a $15 administrative fee which can be placed on that, which it goes to Ultimate, and that's what helps pay for the program, which it's zero. It's cost neutral to the municipality. We don't pay any money for it. The other thing they understand about the fines is it's not like our general infractions, which are sent to Centralized Infraction Bureau. Those infractions carry points against your license, which then goes to the insurance company, which then usually creates higher insurance rates for the operator, depending on how many they get. These are purely civil fines. There's no points. It doesn't go to DMV, and it doesn't go to the insurance company. So most people are going to pay that, and we figured that we get an 80% pay rate, and that seems to be the standard. So we know some people aren't going to pay, but we're figuring out a 90% reduction in violations, and then an 80% pay rate. So when I show you the figures, that's what we're figuring on. The actual violations, should we have them and not have these things in place, would be much higher, but we want to try and give you a true picture of what we're estimating the income from it would be. So again, civil penalty, no points or insurance impact. The revenues have to be utilized for traffic-related expenses. It has to pass a local ordinance. We have to conduct a public hearing. There has to be a 30-day warning period for each speed photo location, and we've already conducted the speed studies, which I've shown you. So,
Is there a definition of traffic-related expenses?
it's very loosely defined, and there's nothing really in there that says anything. So I would say that I would be able to hire enough officers to put out a traffic enforcement squad, and that would allow me to reassign officers that I have on staff to other positions. So I'd be able to reassign them to SRO positions. I'd be able to reassign them to investigative, because even though we have a traffic squad and their main duty is to go out and do traffic, they can also respond, and there's no special designation in the state of Connecticut. Everyone is a certified police officer. There's only one designation, that's it. So we would utilize it that way, and I'm sure that would fit. It would fit the definition.
What about like other traffic calming efforts, like crosswalks or speed humps?
That's clearly part of it as well. So we could do crosswalks, we could do signage, we could do safety campaigns. We could utilize it for equipment that we would use for traffic enforcement. More radar signage, all different types of things that are traffic related. So it's very loose. We can't go out and buy a boat, but I can.
Boats can speed.
As long as it's.
We do patrol the ocean. So, I mean, we are unique in that way.
Yeah, well, I don't think the state's going to buy it, but anyway. So here is the projected revenues from the speed camera just at Morgan. Okay, so we'd have one northbound, one southbound. As you can see, our weekly violations are about 4,500. The monthly violations are nearly 18,000. With an 80% pay rate, that would equate to $719,500 minus the equipment cost. The net revenue received would be $717,500. $500. With what we are expecting, which is a realistic reduction in those violations, because people should hopefully react to that, understand that it's there, and slow down and obey the law. We would expect a 90% reduction in violations of what the speed study showed, and then an 80% pay rate of people that are going to comply and pay the fine. And that still comes out to a net revenue of just under $70,000 for that one location at Morgan. Again, the idea, this is not a revenue generator. The idea is to gain voluntary compliance to the existing laws, and we can't keep doing it. I could put a cop there every day, and the only time it's going to stop is when the cop is pulling somebody over. The minute they're gone, it goes back. I could go back to New Canaan and run radar in the same spots I used to run it back in the 1990s, and I swear to God, I'm sure I'll pick off as many people as I did back then. And it was
Probably the same people.
Yeah, well, it was a lot. It was a lot. So our red light study, we focused all of our attention, honestly, on the 81 corridor, because that is by far the heaviest area of traffic that we have in the town, and the most frequent traffic collisions. Connecticut, UConn now has the T2 Center, which is the repository of all crash information and traffic information in the state of Connecticut, and we have the ability to heat map where all our traffic collisions are, and where we see most of them occurring is all basically from North High Street to Walnut Hill. That's probably 75% of our traffic collisions in town. So the red light studies that we have, and that's another piece of the legislation, if we install the locations that we want to install the red light camera enforcement, we have to show that there's been at least 2 motor vehicle accidents within the last 3 years caused by someone running a red light. I guarantee you, in the 3 spots that we want to put them, no problem. So that would be North High in 81, North High at Glenwood, and North High at 63 southbound at that big Y four-way intersection. And we certainly have enough to meet that mark for just 2025. So violations on all these, again, right here. Glenwood, you can see the westbound is the huge one, and that's the right on red. So right there, you're looking at daily violations, 352. And we didn't do the weekends either, so this is Monday through Friday. So again, these numbers are going to be low. We didn't do the study. We didn't do the study on the weekends. So it was only Monday through Friday. So, and here's the other one, which I found. I was a little surprised at this one as well. So the majority of our violations at the Big Y entrance at 81 and 63 southbound are all northbound. Everybody running through that intersection northbound, which again is really dangerous, because when you're coming down off of 63 and you're trying to fly into Starbucks to get your coffee, it's a bad line of sight there. We got a lot of vegetation. There's a high berm. It's a bad sight line. If somebody else is trying to fly through, we have an issue, because they're not slowing down coming off the highway, and they have the green light. Somebody's running the red light northbound. That's where we see a lot of, pretty hard T-bone type accidents, which are the worst ones that we can have. Payment process is basically all automated. So this is the view that we showed you before. The violation is captured by the camera. It's reviewed and verified by the vendor and by a CPD officer. Citations issued to the owner, the vehicle owner, and you can do it all for public portal review. The payment process, most of the fines are paid online through the secure portal. There is an appeals process which is required by the State Public Act, and we decide how we would staff that. In discussions with you, we could either appoint somebody from the police department, or you could appoint a magistrate. I mean, with the program will honestly generate enough money to have someone just to adjudicate that, and I would really rather advocate for having a judge or a magistrate do this on a part-time basis, because there's not a lot of disputes. It's a small fine. Most people aren't going to come in to dispute it. And there's only 6 defenses for this that are acceptable. Everything else is not acceptable. So there's the only 6 that you can have, and most of them are. I got a slide here. I'll show you. We'll get to the slide. I'll show you, because I have it written down. So Basically, a community impact and the safety goals are to gain voluntary compliance to existing traffic laws. That is the purpose of any enforcement action, to encourage safer driving behaviors, reduce collisions and injuries, support data-driven enforcement, maintain transparency and fairness. So the next steps are, well, the benefits of the program, excuse me. It's a zero cost to the town. This is all 100% violation funded. Ultimate is paid through payment of the fines, so they get the first pieces of the fines, and we get everything that's left over. We expect to see a 90% reduction in violations. It's fair and impartial policing. There's no bias in the cameras or the devices. Traffic pedestrian collision reduction and improved traffic safety. So again, the goal of the program is not revenue, it's safety. Violations decrease significantly after implementation, meaning the revenue also drops accordingly, and this demonstrates the system's real effect is compliance and not ticket quotas. So the only 6 defenses that you could have against or for violating any one of these is you're directed by a police officer to travel through, and it has to be caught on the camera that the police officer is actually directing you through the traffic. It's not functioning, it's not calibrated. You're an emergency vehicle operator operating as an emergency vehicle.
And the signal, the red light signal.
The red light signal is not operational. So that's it. There's only 6 acceptable defenses. So you can come and say, well, I didn't see it or wasn't there. If it's not one of those 6, so it's very simple to adjudicate these. It's gone through our Board of Police Commissioners. They gave me approval at their June meeting to come and present to you. As I said, we've been working on it for about 10 months. From the public safety side, we don't see a downside. Obviously, we're going to get compliance, and that's what we're after. And if we don't get compliance, we will generate enough money to be able to get officers on dedicated to compliance. So there's really not a downside for us on the public safety side. As I mentioned to you before, and when I talked to you several weeks ago, I understand there's political implications and there's other things that need to be navigated on your end. But we need to draft and approve a town ordinance. We do have several that we're working on. We have one just about ready to go, which we've taken part of Milford's, and we've also taken part of one of Middletown's. And I also talked to Chief Calamaris in Fairfield, and I'm looking at some of his as well. We're trying to make sure that it fits Clinton well, and we don't want it over verbose like me. So I'm gonna have other people edit that for us. Once we have that draft policy review and implementation, we'll have a general order for it. We would need to sign an MOU with the vendor, and then we need to engage in a public education campaign. So basically, the long and short of it is we're now no longer going to be the first ones in the state to implement. We have a number of towns that have implemented. We've been working on it. It's not as easy as just put them out there and plug it. We have to put together a plan which has to be approved by the state DOT, and they have strict parameters, but I think we've met where we want to put in, we've met their parameters. So we just didn't come to you flying off the cuff. We really have been putting a lot of work into this to ensure that we give you the information that you need to make a solid decision, because at the end of all things, it's ultimately going to be your decision to either approve a town ordinance or not. So if there's any questions, we're here to answer them. And
so where are you proposing that you put the speed and red light?
So the speed camera would be at Morgan, the area in front of Morgan, and the red light cameras would be at Route 81 in North High Street, Route 81 in Glenwood, and Route 81 at the Big Y Shopping Center and Exit 63 southbound. And that's where we'd start, and then see how that goes. We're required to give a report after the first year. After we do a review, if we see it's having positive impacts, we can take a look at maybe moving them to some other places like Cow Hill. That would be my next place that I would think we would want to put it in, because they may see some increased traffic now of people trying to avoid that speed area, and that's the only other avenue that you really go down. So we'd really want to closely monitor the impact to that area and see if it's increasing significantly. We'd want to, take a look at possibly installing it there. Again, it's difficult because we don't have, knock on wood, we don't have a lot of speed-related crashes on that road. I mean, we do have continual complaints of speeding, and the speed study backs it up, that we are out of the 85th percentile by quite a bit on most days. So that would have to be something that the DOT is going to sign off on, and I think, we're still in the infancy stages, so I think in the beginning for us, the places that we're putting it, it's clearly our heavily traveled, or most heavily traveled roadway in town, and it clearly has the highest rated collisions in town. So we can clearly articulate the need for it there, and the belief that it's truly going to have some impact on traffic safety for us. It's going to reduce the number of collisions we have, and we're going to get better compliance there. I think we have enough data now that we can demonstrate that to the state. Some of the other roads that, we have a lot of complaints of speeding. We do have some data to back it up. We don't have the collision. We don't have the collision information. So I think that could be problematic. But I think if we start out with just the 81 corridor, I think it's a good start for us. And even at the low numbers, it's generating a lot of income. So it provides us a lot of opportunity to provide better service to the community with a little bit more manpower on our side.
I think those are good spots. I mean, the thing with Cow Hill that I know you say you get a lot of speeding complaints, but on the flip side of it, I personally hear a million complaints on how that speed limit's too low. Do you ever,
Well, I think that 25 is reasonable because it's heavily settled. There's a lot of bad sight lines, and there's no shoulder. So it's a little different. Like, I get the same complaints from Long Hill, but Long Hill is a very straight, wide roadway, and that speed limit was one I would think could be maybe brought up to 30 in that long straightaway area, because there's plenty of roadway, there's clear lines of sight. You can see for nearly 3/4 of a mile. You can't do that on Cow Hill. There's a lot of overgrowth, there's a lot of overbrush, there's a lot of mixed use. So there's a lot of pedestrians on the roadway, a lot of bikers on the roadway, and no shoulder whatsoever. So that's where it makes it dangerous there. And I understand that 25 does seem slow if you're coming all the way from the north, trying to get all the way down to Route 1. But
yeah, you see me walking my dog.
raise it to 30, and those people, now they're going to go 50. They're like, oh, that's good. Well, it's 30 now, so I got to go 50 instead of 40.
How does that get? It's a side conversation, but is there like a review that reviews the speed limits in town?
So basically, that would be up to the traffic authority, and it has to go through DOT. So OSTA is really the one that sets everything, and to get anything less than 25 is near impossible. We have a couple of small pockets that are, the condo associations down there off the shore, that we could demonstrate that it's a closed circuit, it's only neighborhood residents, it's highly, so we did get it reduced for the Mohegan area over there, and Shore Road is 20, because that's just a horrifying mess, because everybody's right on top of the road, there's no lines of sight, and there is constant mixed use, so there's always pedestrians, there's always skateboarders, there's always bicycles, and it's just super narrow, there's no place to go. And there's no place to take evasive action. So that's 20. But other than that, we've had a lot of requests come to the police commission for lowering speed limits to 20. Number one, everybody wants signage. People don't obey traffic control signage. They don't obey red lights. They don't obey stop signs. So I don't understand. I tell people all the time, we may give you a sign, but don't get a false sense of security in that people are going to obey it, because they probably won't. We'll do the enforcement piece of it, but a couple of people have come and wanted to lower the speed limits to 20 or 15, and we don't have the authority to do that at the local level. That still has to go through the state. So even if the LTA approves that, the state still has to say it's okay. they have to sign off on it, and they will rarely ever sign off going below 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I only bring that up, that, like I said, a different conversation. I only bring it up to say Cow Hill, with people feeling the speed limit's too small and no traffic, low amount of traffic accidents, that might be a bad spot for it. But my other question is, so, you know, basically the negative connotation with these, you know, we have to go to a public hearing. When you first brought it up, without me doing any research, in my head, there was, you know, two municipalities that had done it. I knew of Washington and Middletown. So, and I know there's a long lead up, so there might be other ones that I don't know about. How many municipalities are doing this?
So right now, we'd probably be about the 6th or the 7th in line in the state.
Yeah. Front of the line still, but there's a lot of jurisdictions that are going through the process, I would say.
So, and it's like everything else, you know, everybody's just waiting for somebody to test the waters and make sure they weren't attacked by the sharks, and once they're still swimming, everybody else is gonna jump in the pool. So again, you know, our concern and the main concern of my commission is traffic safety. It's always public safety. This is a way that we feel we can really enhance our resources that we have available to do that. And, you know, I understand the other side of it 100%, because, you know, Big Brother's out there watching. I know what you have to listen to. So, but at the end of all things, all we're trying to get is voluntary compliance. We're not here to pick everybody's pocket, right? And I think, you know, the positions that we have these cameras placed, we can demonstrate there's clearly a public safety need. And also, within a very short period of time, I think our town residents are going to understand where they are. They can comply with it. We're not going to be ticketing them constantly. But we have so much transient traffic in that corridor that that's the people that we really need to be concerned about. And those are the ones that are going to end up paying most of the fines.
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, you're concerned about speed. You can set a cushion into that, right?
Well, yeah, well, by state law, we cannot
Go below 10.
go below 10. You can't issue a summons unless it's at least 10 miles an hour above the speed limit.
Above the speed limit.
Clear.
So that on Cow Hill, it's 25, that automatically sets it at 35.
That's
before
correct.
They get cited.
So,
The other piece I would add to what the chief said too is we're required to, these will be, not only will there be 2 signs letting you know that there's a camera ahead, it's also got to be on Waze, Google Maps. I mean, you're going to get notified. You're definitely going to know that they're there.
So, and the more that we put out there on the public information campaign, and the more that we make people aware of it, again, to our end of it, we're going to see better compliance, and that's what we want.
And I think everyone in town is gonna know within a short period of time, these are up there. I think where most of them are gonna be located on Route 81 corridor, most of the people who are gonna be violators are gonna be out of town.
The equipment, do we own it or rent it?
We rent it from Ultimate, so there's a monthly charge for that.
So they're responsible to maintain and calibrate?
We do it all. We pay for the power, the permitting, the installation, the software, the citation mailings, everything. It's all,
So it's all
it's a
done-
full turnkey process.
And it's a zero cost to the town. So if we're not meeting, say, we got 100% compliance, we're not gonna owe them money to pay for the camera. It goes in abeyance.
So the first infraction is $50, the second one is $75. What if somebody's going 80 miles an hour?
Unfortunately, it's the same thing, $50.
It is.
How about,
But if we see, like, you know, what also we can
Yeah.
use this data to know that if we say, okay, we know at 7:30 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we see a violator going by at 80 miles an hour, I can set a car there, and then my cops will arrest them, and we can go the whole 9 yards with it.
how about the data? How quick does the data get back to CPD? And could you guys run that information for other criminal offenses or somebody that's
No, you
wanted?
can't run, so it basically the information that's gathered by these cameras can only be used for the enforcement action. So, again, the state was very restrictive in the way it implemented this program, because it didn't want it misused, or it didn't, you know, the ultimate goal is traffic safety, and they didn't want it diminished by saying that, you know, someone saying, oh, they're using it to track people, or they're using it to follow cars. We have another system in place. of license plate readers, which gives us information on stolen cars and other plates, and so it's a completely separate system that we use for that.
So the data that gets collected is stored by Ultimate, right?
That's right.
And do you do anything else with that data?
Absolutely not. Yeah, once they pay, it's purged.
No, like metadata gets sold anywhere about how many?
No, we can't. Yes, no. And to your point, you asked the question about the turnaround time.
30
Once-
days minimum, right?
Well,
Gotta be done
on the
before-
violation, like if someone violates, we're able to get it turned around and mailed out within 48 hours. It's quick. Yeah. As long as the chief approves it and his team, but they have to approve it and send it back.
On the red light, you were given an example of 63, someone goes through the green light and somebody else goes through the standing red, and you get T-bone. So those are a lot of statistics with red light running. What about right on red? Is that included in those?
So right on red is when you saw the graph for Glenwood Road, all the violations westbound, those are all right on reds. And we did have a fatal there prior to my arrival here. I think it was about 18 or 20 years ago, we had a girl killed there, making a right on red, and actually it was a police cruiser that hit her. So we did have a fatal there. And again, poor line of sight coming up from that bridge. You can't really see that intersection well. It's slated to get redone, but I don't know how much you can do with it with the bridge abutments for line of sight.
There's no issue with this being on a state road, with the town putting cameras on a state road?
No, it all has to be approved through state DOT anyway, so, and again, I think we're going to get good reception from them because of the amount of traffic collisions that we have in the corridor where we're placing them, and they would like to see some success from the program. So if we can demonstrate that we are reducing traffic collisions and we're seeing better compliance, I think that's something that they can then tout throughout the state to say that these devices do work, and we're seeing positive impacts because this is what we're doing on a state road in Clinton.
And the initial CPD review that happens of all of these things, as this first rolls out, that's within existing resources that you have?
Yeah, so basically, it's about 10 minutes a day. It's not a lot to go review them, so when the violations come in, they're vetted first by Ultimate, and then I would have the captain of administrative services or some other designee just go through to make sure that the violations actually occurred. And it's clear, there's only 6 defenses against it, so as long as those are all clear, the summons goes to the vehicle owner.
You know what Old Saybrook, Westbrook, or Madison are doing?
I do not, well, Westbrook is, a trooper town, so they got a resident trooper, so that would fall under the state. Saybrook, unfortunately, is still in a bit of turmoil. If I get the program up and running, I'm sure my neighbor, Chief Drum, will come over and say, hey, is it working?
So $50 ticket happens, $15 admin fee. The $15 admin fee goes to Ultimate for all, and that's what you mean by cost neutral, is that it's all covered within that 15 bucks?
Correct. So we pay nothing. So once we sign the MOU, we install the equipment, the only thing we're going to see is revenue from the program. We will never write them a check. So
How long is this contract?
3 years.
How many?
Oh, he wants 5.
5 years?
Oh, 5 years.
My second thing is if people don't pay, what's the penalty?
So we would have to figure that out and put that as part of the ordinance. If you don't pay and you get to a certain point, do we hand it over to collection? It's dependent on how we would want to go with it. Obviously, we'd say if you don't only get 2 or 3, then we'll turn it over to a collection agency to follow you, but it's whatever we decide.
Yep.
So there's no, it's not anything
And that
like.
has to be written in the ordinance.
Well, if that's what you want, yeah. Otherwise, if you leave it out, they just don't pay it, but most people.
That's what I'm saying, I mean,
Yeah.
There's
So
an
we
old,
yeah, we need
you
to.
know the old saying,
Yeah.
don't make a rule if you can't enforce
Correct.
it.
True story. So it's to me, I would say if you got more than 2 that you don't pay, or if you don't pay within a certain amount of time, we'll turn that over to a collection agency. So we're not in the business of collecting the bills, right?
No Boston boot.
But I mean,
Could, but you don't
You
want
could,
to.
but yeah, you don't.
I don't want to do that.
And basically, in talking with Ultimate, that's why we're saying it's an 80% figure, it's an 80% pay rate. 20% of people probably aren't going to pay. They're one-offs, you're not going to find them, they rented a car at Bradley and they're in from California, and they're not going to pay it. So this is where we're at, and most people are going to pay. It's a $50 fine, you can do it right online. It's not a hassle, you don't have to go to court, you don't have to do all these things. We're not going to report it to your insurance company, it's a civil fine. That's the way it's set up, so most people are just paying. And again, I don't care if they pay or they don't, because I really want to get compliance. That's what I want. I want compliance to the law. You know, this is all additional things that comes from it, but that's the sidebar. And that's only going to help me do what I'm trying to do with the equipment, which is get compliance to the traffic laws.
So this would go to a public hearing, and the public would not hear any of this beforehand. They would just be,
We can set up the public hearing however you like, we'll answer any questions they have, and at the end of the thing, you know, I think it's important that the public understands that this is not set up as a revenue-generating program. This is set up as public safety, traffic safety compliance. That's it. If we don't get a dime from it, I'm happy, because that means we're not getting any violations, and the equipment's done its work. That's what we wanted it to do.
so at the public hearing, we can set this up so the chief can give them a little presentation?
Would we write the ordinance first for people?
Yeah, I want to present, so we give me another, if you want to put me on the agenda for your next meeting, please. I will have, we'll get finalized on the ordinance language, give you time to all review it, and then if we can just come have a conversation, you can tell me what you like, what you want to fix, what we need to change. I'll let my commission review it, go through it, so we're all on the same page before we move forward to a public hearing to make sure that we have it, you know. But I don't want to be presumptuous if you decided that you didn't want to do it. I don't want to say, okay, well, you know. But to us, like I said, we don't see a downside.
Good presentation, thanks.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Item number 7 is a line item transfer request, and that is Department of Request Town Manager. This is for the 2025-2026 wage increases for non-union employees in the amount of $35,186.
So this is the amount that was requested that we take out in the initial budget. We put them in each line item. There was a request to take it out and put it in a lump sum and contingency. And so now we're in this fiscal year, we need to move it back.
Yeah, I'd like to point out one typo, I apologize. It's 3.25%. On the detail sheet where we have departments and positions, that does state 3.25%. On the actual transfer, it does say 3.5. No, it's 3.25. Traditionally, the non-union employees follow the supervisor's contract. The supervisors got 3.25%. This is a transfer for the current budget year, 2026, and the contingency amount starts out at $301,000.
It would take the contingency down from 301?
From 301, yeah, down by 35,000.
Oh, we started a contingency at what figure?
It's a new budget year,
Right.
and it's at a little bit over 301,000.
Okay, so 301, so this will come off that 301.
Right, 301, 411.
Any other questions?
Well, did we expect, was that built into the contingency? We were expecting this, or this was
It
not?
was, well, it was built into the initial budget you were presented, it was built into those salary line items. So what it did was it brought down those salary line items and raised the contingency.
Okay.
It was just moving from one bucket to another. Now we're moving it back.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve this line item transfer request?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries. Thank you. The item number 8, Finance Department reappropriation request. We have it in our agenda, a request to reappropriate available funds in Finance 2024-2025 line items to Finance 2025-2026 line items to be used for audit and accounting services. Any questions for Bob, or Bob, did you want to?
Yeah, reappropriation is a request from the old budget. If you have a balance available in a line item for a specific purpose, you can request to reappropriate that balance to the next
fiscal year for a specific purpose. In this instance, I guess we're lucky enough to have savings in these line items due to overestimates. And we basically need it in the new fiscal year because we need to do an audit of ARPA funds that were given to a not-for-profit, and it's just convenient that we happen to have those funds.
I see a figure for the audit and accounting services. That was a $5,000 surplus, is what you're saying, from last year.
From last year.
So you're going to bring it into this year?
So it will be carried forward to this year.
Okay. And same thing with IT. Why isn't there a figure with, or is finance, is that the two of them are under finance?
Under
Is that what you're
finance,
saying? Okay. There's not another thing for the finance department?
No.
Okay. Very good. So actually it was $15,000.
Correct.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. And now Bob for the Finance Director's report.
Yes, good evening. We're at a point of the year where we're finishing up the old fiscal year and we're beginning the new fiscal year. This report still is reporting on the old fiscal year. We're only 2 weeks into the new fiscal year. You'll see a report at the next night meeting in August on the new fiscal year as well. So you'll see a report on both years. Next meeting, you'll see a report on the old fiscal year because we'll be doing the typical year-end transfers, the final year-end transfers in August. So really, nothing's changed on 24-25 except for the revenues continue to outperform. So you will notice that revenue estimates were exceeded by actuals by 1.6 million, which is a little bit more than the last report. Investment rates stay steady, 4.43. Today is 4.41, so slowly decreasing, but for the most part, they've been pretty consistent. General fund balance estimate for June 30th, 2025 continues to be 23% of the total budget, so there's no drastic changes there. We'll have a final report on fund balance once the financial statements are prepared, and we report on that fiscal year's financial statements.
That 15 assumes that 2.6 million of fund balance is going to be used in the 26 fiscal year.
That's correct. Yeah, and I would expect we're not going to have those great savings like this year. I'd expect we'll be using close to 2.6 million. So that will be an important consideration when we start developing the next budget.
So if everything goes the way we think it's gonna, next year we'll need 20% or 12,884,000, and we have 15 million, so we still got room.
We have some flexibility there where we need to slow down. Correct. I did include the ARPA fund in the report on page 15. Not many funds left, which is good, 189,000, which represents less than 5% of the total grant that we got. The majority, 99% of those funds are obligated. There may be a few funds, a couple of $1,000s that are left over, which is not an easy thing to do. Also included is the Capital Fund 60. It does not include the new projects that were approved. Next report will include those new projects that were included in this new budget. But you'll see the projects that are still open. I'm currently reviewing those projects with the departments. Most of those projects where you see small balances left, they will be closed.
Contingency had $4,000 at the end. They made it by the skin of our teeth.
There we go, right. And just a general comment that it is in July and August that it takes that long to review all the funds and close the books. Invoices are still coming in, and then come September, we start creating the financial statements, and that takes a couple of months as well, in cooperation with the Board of Education.
So Bob, in doing a budget of this size, you're not gonna get it right on, right? And so it's better to have a surplus than it is to go negative. Can you comment like on your thoughts? So here we're gonna basically have, for lack of a better term, a surplus of 2 million from last year between expenditures and revenue.
But you have to understand that surplus reduces the estimated use of fund balance. So we're not going to have a surplus.
Right, but I'm saying for next year, you're good, but you're not gonna hit it right on the head. So, like, what variance are you looking at, where just going in, you can't predict it. You don't know, like, for expenses, that you're gonna have open positions or not have open positions. But I would say, coming in with a $500,000 in extra revenue is not a big number,
I mean, in the ideal world, you want budget equal actual, really, in the ideal world. You don't want underperformance. I think the challenge next budget year is how we're going to finance the Fund 60, the capital projects. We don't have the fund balance to finance all of them like we did in prior years. So that's going to be the challenge next year.
And so I was trying to read into Chris's question, is that now we're at the beginning of the fiscal year, and it's tight. We don't have any reserve or any. Is there any challenges? Do you see anything on the horizon over the next 12 months that there'd be something pending that we could get $500,000 in, or something pending that $500,000 would go out?
No, I don't see any problems with this year's budget. There are a few contingencies, like in medical benefits, which you have to put in. We do have contingency, not a large one. We do have some open positions. Revenues can still be bright.
Well, they were 1.6 million higher than expected last year.
Right.
And we have a reval coming, right, this year.
Right. A reval, the only thing about a reval that I dream about is different areas of town going up than other. Look, if property values go up the same throughout the whole town, there's no effect on the mill rate. Because the mill rate will go down, but your property values go up, your taxes will stay the same. The problem is when one area of town increases more than the other area, then you have a lot of explaining to do.
That almost always happens, right?
Right, so. I did hand out the detail of legal services. Reason why there's not a transfer yet is because we're still receiving invoices. Pages 1 through 4 is just, is it 1 through 4? Let's see. Pages 1 through 3 is just the pure detail by lawyer. And you'll see some lawyer totals on the right-hand side. So that's just the individual invoices coming in during the fiscal year. If you go to page 4, I chose the two higher vendors, and you can see the Harris Beach, Merthyr, the total for the year out of, it represents $91,000. So that's where most of the increases have come up in this line item. And you can see it's just a few matters. And those matters are mainly tax assessment issues and zoning violations. Milano and Whatnot is pretty reasonable. They're the town lawyer, and that's $47,000 for the fiscal year. If you go to page 5, it just shows you a little bit of history of legal services. If you look at 2024, we started out with a $95,000 budget, but we had to increase it to $146,000. In my experience for legal services account, it's a very volatile account. It's very hard to predict what to budget. Usually you try to predict the average, and in those years which are above average, you request amounts from contingency. Anyway, on that page 5, you could see the significant legal fees in 24-25 are due to 5 or 6 cases, and mainly assessments and tax question issues.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, good work, thanks.
Thank you, John.
Any questions about? No? We can move on? All right, town managers report.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So yesterday, we had the official opening of Henry on Main in Capinola, and many of you were all there, so thank you for coming out and supporting it. It was a tremendous turnout, and the concept has actually gotten a lot of press. The Hartford Current is running an article on it, the New Haven Register is running an article on it, the Shoreline Times is running an article on it, and our own Harbor News is running an article on it. So it's great. It's really being pushed through as, an out-of-the-box concept of using an empty storefront to, take the feedback from our local businesses and making something out of it. And it also focuses on the town, the council themselves, investing in the space and signing that lease and bringing this concept to reality. So it was a true collaboration, and I'm thrilled that it's being picked up across the state, and Clinton's getting some well-deserved press for this idea. So thank you to the council, again, for the members of the EDC, the library board. Mary Beth has been wonderful. Charlie and his wife over at Fast Signs. We've just had tremendous partners in this, and I couldn't thank you enough. And we literally turned it around in less than a month. So opened that space up, which is great. So exciting things happening. The gentleman spoke about Beach Park Road. We are on a call yesterday. There is a firm date for the road closure, July 28th. The signs have been changed. We have been working very close with the residents and the associations in that area, and we've been pretty firm with the SLR and Ducks Unlimited, who are running the project, that we cannot have these dates change. They've already changed once. They assured us that the 28th, the water company, which the temporary movement of the water main was had to do the first date change, but they assure us that the 28th is the date. So we will be getting some more social media postings out on that, and the police will be doing increased patrols and have a presence in that area when that detour goes into effect and the road officially closes. There was an additional great news. The Land Trust was awarded $103,350 for the Killingworth open space. The parcel size is about a little over 23.5 acres. The town also provided $50,000 in this current fiscal budget to purchase that. So I think it came up with about 9, Abby. It was a very minimal amount that the Land Trust is going to put in. So that was great. The press release, I think, went out yesterday. From the governor's office. The part-time town civil engineer position has been posted at the end of last week. I will keep the council updated on how we do with candidates. The fireworks, we've been very busy seeking donations. There will be a formal announcement going out in the next week or so. The event will obviously take place on Saturday the 23rd with the rain date of the 24th. It will be starting at 5 o'clock down at the beach this year. And again, anyone who is interested in donating, please have them contact our office, and we'll be happy to help them get us the checks, and we will provide them with a letter acknowledging their donation and the steps that they need to go through to have the donation be used for a charitable donation, because it is going to the town for a public purpose, so it can be deducted on their taxes. Tomorrow, I'm starting the clerical union contract negotiations. Public Works has already been ratified. We did the one-year extension for police supervisors is until the 2027, so this is the last contract right now for a little bit. Park and Rec, Bo is coming to the August 6th meeting to give Town Council an update on beach improvements and Park and Rec projects overall as requested. So he will be here to give you a nice thorough report, and by August 6th, he'll have a good idea of how the beach has run this summer and any feedback that he may be receiving. We are doing a big push for the trolley. There was some funding. Funding became an issue this year, and we are trying to push ridership. And we have done a lot of social media push on that, and you see additional signage throughout the town, and it is working. The last weekend, we had more than 125 people ride the trolley in 3 days. That was more than we had in the whole month of May. The half of May from when it was open, but we only had 46 people. So it is being utilized. It is great. People are excited about it. And today I did the first part of a promotional video. We're going to film with the public television channel a video to promote. So I went today and did some voice over, I don't know what that's. Overlay for the video, and they'll be out this weekend taking some actual live footage of the trolley and some of the spots that it stops at, Ham and Acid, the restaurants down at the marina and up and down Main Street. So that video will be rolling out, and I will let you all know the debut of that, so we can work on getting ridership. And once we get those numbers up, it'll give Abby and myself a good, strong application for grant funding to get the funding for next year. It's about $38,000 to run it for the summer. It is completely free, and we want to keep that going. It's a big economic driver for the town, so we are going to be working towards that. And that is all I have.
Excellent. Thank you. I've received an incredible number of very positive reactions about the dock, the town dock. Has everybody been down there lately to see? It really looks great.
They have live
J&M
music
it
now
is,
down
yeah,
there, yes.
exactly. They're contributing a lot to that. But the plantings, everyone's very happy with it, and it's always great when people are happy with something. CVS Landscaping, they're happy with that because they were so unhappy with it before, and so I'm very thrilled to see that going on. That completes that corner really nicely. And the community support that we saw for the library yesterday was obvious, and we thank the library. I thank the library for helping us to support our own economic development, because it is a stretch for them with staffing and whatnot. And that is it. Council discussion?
One thing, so from that downtown outreach program, the Economic Development Commission broke it into categories of things to do. If you remember, we said there was like 87 things, and Connecticut Main Street has 80 more. There's a lot of things to do. And a group of them was beautification, and Mark Palmieri's on the beautification committee and on EDC, so he could do both. And he's met with Steve Van Ness to talk about potential there, and Steve's very energetic. And so I'm trying to explain to Steve that there's a process, right? And I think Connecticut Main Street recommended that we develop a public art program. And so that would be the process. So maybe we could talk about that, or maybe you could describe.
Yep, so the subcommittee is set to get up and running. We have members from the EDC, a couple of local businesses, Abby, myself, I can't think off the top of my head who else, Dale Croup, members from the community. So we have the subcommittee established. We are having our first meeting. We are going back and forth with dates. I think next week, the 23rd. We'll be having our first meeting, and I'm very confident from what came out of the EDC's efforts align very closely, if not overlap, with the Connecticut Main Street. So then the subcommittee will look at it, and then we will prioritize and see what we're going to tackle first. What are some of the low-hanging fruit that we can do, eliminate, and move forward. So
Is Mark Palmieri on that?
I don't believe he is. The EDC
Yeah, room for
representative
one more,
is.
he might be a good one.
I don't know if he signed up. They asked last meeting for the EDC volunteers, and I don't believe he was one of them. But we'll, as part of my economic development reports, that first meeting of every month, I'll provide you an update of how we're moving forward and what comes out of those meetings.
Anyone else?
I forgot to ask, when the press release went out for that land trust,
Yes.
somebody asked me, I don't know, Abby and Michelle, if it's too early, but is there gonna be like a parking lot there, or, because it's on 81, is there gonna be a place to park?
So I think the intent is that on existing land trust property on Green Pot, so good evening to Jesse Buell, there would be an improvement of that area, and there's been preliminary conversation with Eversource that was sort of contingent on the grant funding coming forward and getting to the point where the land trust can close the deal, because the land trust ultimately would hold this property, to have trails running up the Eversource property that also abuts this, so expanding the trail network through a license agreement with Eversource to get through, so that would be the primary parking area.
And it does say in the press release, it brings attention to that Route 81 along the public bus route, expanding access to visitors using public transportation. So I don't know if they're trying to push eliminating not as much parking, but they put the public transportation component in the press release.
Does us getting that grant and showing our commitment to land trust use get us more opportunity to get more grants? Does it position us better?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly, if you look at some of the awards over the years, certainly some of these grants go to repeat towns who have sort of a program in place. And so I think one of the things that the Conservation Commission and the Land Trust and the committee that they formed between the two of them is in trying to do is say, how do we intentionally go after some of these funds and really try to leverage, whether it's public dollars, private fundraising, and cobble together things that work. And so it's, we worked with the Connecticut Land Trust Council and other groups to sort of create a relationship and understand how the grant processes work. So I think the intent is to be repeat customers if we can. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Any council liaison reports?
Planning and zoning, the plan of conservation and development, the deadline got extended to December of this year. They also took in the same coastal resiliency plan that we got, as well as River Cog's transit-oriented development plan. They're reviewing those to maybe endorse at their next meeting.
There's some,
Police didn't have one in July.
there's some open seats on EDC again, as we know, so if you didn't know anybody, they have, I think, 3 open seats on economic development.
We go on
Yeah.
waves with that.
It's like a revolving door. Yeah.
We had, if you remember, 6 months ago or 9 months ago, we needed people on Economic Development Commission, and we filled it, but we've lost a few again. So now there's 3 open seats.
3 again?
Yeah. I'm not sure if the alternates are remain, what the numbers are. Maybe it's 1 alternate and 2 regular seats.
Sheesh.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so invite the chief? All right, sure. So do we have a motion to go into executive session and invite Mary, Michelle, and the chief?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Great. So item number 15, is there a motion to approve the settlement as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, have a good night.